Facing elimination in Hell's Kitchen is without a doubt a scary experience, as your HK life and future dream career is all in the hands of a scary man looking right at you, looking for any reason to get rid of you. Yet despite that, whether due to luck or strictly deserving to survive, or a combination of both, a select group of chefs have made it through an incredible amount of nomination ceremonies. What's going on, guys? I'm FlynnMasters, and today we'll be looking at the Hell's Kitchen contestants with the most amount of nominations. Now, this isn't a video about chefs who survived longer than they should have. I've already made a video about that. This is strictly a stat video, although I will be looking over each nomination and I'll give my take on if they should have indeed survived. Be sure to hit that subscribe and like button if you enjoy unique HK content like this. And with that, here are the contestants with the most amount of nominations.
Bloody hell, here I go again.
We have a four-way tie for 5th place, as these chefs are all tied with the most amount of nominations in a singular season, and the fact they're essentially in the same group as two-time contestants is insane, as Clemenza, Autumn, Sabrina, and Scott are all tied with 7 nominations in one season. Let's first look at the winner real quick in Scott, who I've talked about many times on this channel, as most of his nominations were either BS or he was never in any real danger. His first nomination was actually one of the more scary ones, as he and Chris had a disastrous night on pizza, but Chris would go home for being a bit worse overall that night and the entire competition. He would then survive over Routh and Gabriel, but did get lucky that the latter nominated the former, and was nominated at both final 10s for very little reasons, and was then nominated along with Anton at the final 8 due to Keisha and Joy wanting to stick together. His 6th nomination was easily his most deserving, as he had a disastrous final 7 service, but would earn a black jacket due to Gabriel getting ejected. And then his 7th nomination came the following service, where that was a nomination by Ramsay just to hear from him, as Keisha had the clear worst night and was just not ready to become a head chef.
Scott.
Chef, I know what I'm capable of. I've had some mistakes, but I keep learning every single day. Of course, I'm gonna stumble at times, but I'm gonna come through.
What separates you from Jason?
Chef, I think I'm a lot more creative than Jason is. I think I can put up better flavors. I think I've got a much better palate than Jason does.
Autumn would be the original record holder with these 7 noms in season 7, and to be honest, most of them were at least somewhat deserving, even though she was never in that much trouble of going home, as her first 2 nominations on the red team were mostly due to the team not liking her. Her next 2 nominations at the final 9 and 8 respectively was when she was in most danger and could have gone home, but was spared due to Siobhan and Fran being worse than her. She was then nominated 2 times after that for essentially no reason, as the final 6 simply viewed her as a weakest link, and then she was nominated one more time at the final 4, only for that to be a non-elimination.
You are soulless.
I'm not soulless. There's so much in here. I left my PhD program to cook and made $10 an hour for 2 years. Busted my hump because I love to cook, and that is why I'm here. A person doesn't give up everything to follow their dreams because they have no soul.
Sabrina is a very interesting case, as she was nominated at every opportunity she could be, but generally deserved to survive all of them, with even the most questionable one in surviving over Louis being on a night where Louis completely tanked. And Clemenza definitely had an interesting ride as well, as he had the worst night at the final 13, but would save himself after an all-time great plea, with his nomination the next night being voided along with Brian. He would then nearly survive his next 4 eliminations over Royce, Tiffany, Brian, and Robin respectively, due to those 4 being just a bit worse than him, before finally meeting his demise at the final 5. You could argue a couple of these, like him surviving over Brian and Robin, but it really is up in the air for most of these nominations.
Clemenza, give me your jacket. I expected so much more.
You know you did, Chef.
And bigger than that, you're a filthy mess. Get a clean jacket on and get back in line.
Yes, see. Yes, see.
We have 2 chefs tied for number 4, with Manda and Row both having 8 total nominations in their 2 seasons combined. We'll start off with Row, who I'm not a fan of, but looking back, I generally think she deserved to survive most of these noms, despite me not thinking that before doing this video, as she obviously deserved to survive over the weak Katie at the final 13, and while her surviving over Ashley was questionable the next round, she deserved to survive over the other 2 noms that night in Aaron and Steve. And in a very similar instance, while her next nomination survival over Fernando wouldn't make sense when comparing those 2, she still deserves to survive that round over Santos and Sterling, as they had the worst charity night performance in both respective kitchens. I say her most questionable survivals were against Santos at the final 7 and 6, but at the final 7 they were both rewarded with black jackets. And yeah, while you could say Santos had done better than Row overall come the black jacket round, it's Santos, who really cares? She would then go home after her 6th nomination, ironically against her one-sided rival in Jennifer. Her Rookies vs Veterans run was obviously not as crazy, as she was first nominated in the Cook for Your Life challenge, before being nominated for her 8th and final time the next round, going home next to Mia. As for Manda, she had 4 nominations in both her seasons, with her first nomination ever resulting in her going to the blue team for a second chance, and her second nomination came on a night where it was a good service and nobody went home. You could argue her surviving over Danny to earn a black jacket, but again, it's Danny, it's not really that deep. She would then go home at the final 5 after an all-time bad Black Jacket service. She then began All-Stars with an interesting scenario, as while she deserved to stay over Elise was obviously never going home this early, and thus Ramsay got rid of the bad health Ben. The very next nomination was also very up in the air between the 4 all up for elimination, with Ashley in the end going home mainly for yawning. Her third nomination came as a result of being picked for the Cook for Your Life challenge, before being nominated for a 4th time at the final 11 and subsequently eliminated.
Manda. Listen and listen carefully. It's pretty obvious that you miss your family, and I know how tough that is. Unfortunately, they're gonna have to wait a little longer. Because I still believe in you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Chef.
At number 3 is Trev, who has a total of 9 nominations in his Hell's Kitchen career. His season 8 run is very interesting, as he was nominated after the very first service for not being able to make a salad, and was then nominated the final 4 times he could be nominated before going home at the final 4, which of course didn't have a nomination ceremony. Again, most of these he deserved to survive, with the only ones in question being against Gail, who was on quite the downfall at that point, and being lucky that Ramsay didn't eliminate anyone at the first final 4 round, as he would have for sure gone home over Russell. And then in Rookies vs Veterans, while his first nomination was somewhat up in the air, it was so much up in the air that Ramsay simply had a team swap, with his next 2 nominations being ones he absolutely deserved to survive over Scott Lee and Jose respectively. 2 very satisfying eliminations for that matter, before finally ending his polarizing HK career with his 9th total nomination at the final 7 against Brett.
Jillian, who's the weakest chef?
Trev is the weakest chef here. Trevor, chef.
2 votes. Trevor.
Oh, it ain't over yet.
No.
Trev.
Sabrina.
Trev.
Wow. Trev, step forward. Take your jacket off. And put this one on. Congratulations.
Thanks,
You're in the final 6.
Trevor.
I got more fight in me than anybody here. I want this more than anybody here. And I bounced back hard again today. You're looking for a leader? You saw one today.
Tied for number 2 with 10 total nominations are ironically 2 chefs from season 10, with that being Barbie and Robin. Let's start out with Barbie, who truly was lucky not to be a second boot in Hell's Kitchen season 10, only surviving due to Chris being just as bad on scallops and having a terrible plea. But yeah, her next 3 noms were for complete BS reasons, as the red team would use some totally dumb reasons for nominating her, such as not liking her, or the faces she would make. She would get nominated at the final 5 one last time against the mentioned Clemenza, before getting eliminated by Ramsay at the final 4. And then in All-Stars, she was nearly the second boot once again, but survived over Ashley, and was then nominated 4 straight times from the final 12 to the final 9, where she was finally eliminated. The most arguable one of these was at the final 10 when she survived over Van, but then again, literally any of the 4 noms should have gone home over Van that night. Love her or hate her, you have to admire the determination of Barbie in Hell's Kitchen.
Barbie,
Yes, chef.
why do you think you should stay in Hell's Kitchen?
I don't feel like I'm the weakest chef, so I don't feel like I deserve to be here.
Do you know what? You're right. Back in line.
Tied with her is one of her rivals in Robin, who was first nominated much later at the final 11, and was given another chance on the blue team, where she would get lucky numerous times, as while you could argue she deserved to survive over Tiffany at the final 9, the red team really should not have lost that night. Then at the final 8, she got super lucky that Kimmy just so happened to tank on Southern Night, as Kimmy had done far better than Robin up until that point, and then just flat out should not have been given a black jacket over Brian. She would then finally go home at the final 6 over Clemenza. And then in All-Stars, she would be the 3rd other chef to survive the second nomination ceremony against Ashley we've talked about in this video, and then would have some questionable survivals when she got switched to the blue team once again. As while you could argue her surviving over Jared, she really benefited in my opinion for being the better TV character compared to Giovanni at the Cook for Your Life challenge, and again, just should not have survived over Van at the final 10. Her run will once again end as the first black jacket boot, this time at the final 5, but as you can see, Robin's nominations are a lot more questionable than everyone else on this list, which is why in my opinion she's the biggest bullet dodger in Hell's Kitchen history.
And do you think you're better than Kimmy?
Yes, I do, chef. I want to be your head chef. That's why I came here. I want to stay here so bad. I'm not ready to leave Hell's Kitchen yet, chef. I'm not.
Robin, 30 seconds.
I'm passionate, hardworking, loyal. I don't think I deserve to be up here right now, chef.
Robin, back in line.
Thank you, chef.
But at number 1, the person with the most amount of nominations in Hell's Kitchen history is Elise with frickin' 12. She's actually tied with Clemenza, Sabrina, Autumn, and Scott for the single season record with 7 in season 9. And yeah, most of them you could argue she deserved to go home. I guess her first 2 nominations she deserved to survive due to weaker competition, but around the final 9 is when things got ridiculous, as Jamie should just not have gone home at the final 9, as it should have definitely been either Elise or Carrie, as they're Liddy kicked out of the kitchen that night compared to Jamie. Her 4th and 5th survivals against Natalie and Elizabeth were both also extremely questionable, but at the very least the 2 blondes really didn't show to have good leadership qualities, so I guess you could argue Elise deserved to stay. But yeah, after a 6th nomination with Jennifer where nobody would go home, her 7th nomination would be her last, and we all know how I feel about that one. In All-Stars, as mentioned, she should have been the first boot based on performance, but was saved due to Ben just existing, and then survived 3 straight times in the Cook for Your Life and against Van and Barbie respectively, with her final ever nomination coming at the final 8, when she survived over Dana, with that ironically being Dana's first nomination in 2 seasons compared to Elise's record-setting 12th. Just unreal.
I can guarantee one thing, I never make the same mistake twice. This is my first time on the carpet. This is her second, and his third. I can work on my attitude, but you can't give somebody common sense and talent. I'm 26. I have so much to learn and so much more to give.
Are you done?
So there you have it, guys, the Hell's Kitchen contestants with the most amount of nominations. Let me know of some other unique videos you'd like to see in the comments below, and be sure to hit that subscribe and like button to support the channel. And with all that said, take care everyone, and I'll see you next time.
Get out of there.